third word from the end of the second line, ED needs to be added there. It's offered as opposed to offer.
Yeah, that's after Curtis Augustus Senator.
That's correct.
Were offered. Okay.
Were offered rather
Yes.
than were offered.
So ED there.
At the top of the next page, which is page 5, the first line, the word "the" should be inserted between "of" and "opposition." So it should say leader of the opposition rather than leader of opposition.
Yes.
At page 7, under statement of appreciation, reflecting comments by the Honourable Prime Minister, Member Vickers, line 1, 2, 3, 4. Two lines from the end of that, two words from the end of that fourth line should be a capital S for state. And line 14 on the same page, page 7, second word in from the end, a capital T for treasury there.
Yes.
Next line down, an S, transactions as opposed to transaction. And then two lines further down, middle of that line, which I think is about the 17th line, should be an S on the best class rather than best class.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4 lines further down, the first word is a small c rather than capital C for countries. And then in the middle of that same line, an S needs to be added to relationship. So it should be diplomatic relationships rather than relationship.
Yes.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines further down, the middle of that line, which starts government's ability. In the middle of that line, the word should be pledged with a D rather than pledge without a D. So D needs to be added.
Yes.
Overleaf at the next, top of the next page, page 8. First line, the word "and" needs to be inserted between political party and the country. So it should read "of a political party and the country," rather than "political party, the country."
Yes.
At page 12, you may not have got this one. This is page 12, point of order, the third line, Honourable Speaker, it's Honourable Speakers with an apostrophe S.
Yeah.
Rather than speaker without the S. In the middle of that same page on the motion to rescind, it seems to me, I wasn't present, but it seems to me in reading it, the preamble recital, whereas on Wednesday, 28th July 2021, a motion was moved and approved. I believe it should, seconded should come in somewhere there. So it seems to me it should be, a motion was moved and seconded. Or if you want to have the approved, it should have to be moved. But you don't need approved. I think I would say it should be motion was moved and seconded, which is the correct parliamentary language.
Yes.
And at the next page, which is page 13, the line which starts with "be it resolved" in bold, the word "rescind" should have an S added. Be it resolved that this honourable house, rescinds this motion.
Yes.
And the same page, under the heading "Intervention by the Honourable Member for Salisbury Constituency," the last line of that section, I would imagine the window referring to the opportunity given to the Leader of the Opposition, a window of 24 hours rather than 20 hours, I suspect, is what was supposed to be.
Yes, 24 hours.
And overleaf at page 14 on the intervention by the Honourable Speaker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it's correct.
Very well.
Yeah. So 20 hours instead of 24.
Very well. Very well.
You're trying to correct. Okay.
At page 14, at page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines, the word "matter" is 3 lines from the end of that 7th line. 3 words from the end. Matter should be a double T. So that's just a typo which needs to be corrected. And the penultimate line of that section, a small m for matter rather than a capital there.
Yes.
And finally, at page 15, under the heading Statement Relative to the Disturbance which occurred inside the House, members of the opposition stood and disturbed, ED, to be added rather than disturbed.
Okay.
There endeth the reading of suggested amendments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any other amendments? Okay, let's proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday 28th, Thursday 29th, Friday 30th July, and Tuesday 3rd August 2021 be confirmed as amended.
It has been,
Second.
it has been moved and seconded that the minutes of Wednesday 28th, Thursday 29th, Friday 30th July, and Tuesday 3rd August be confirmed as amended. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. The minutes is confirmed as amended. Announcement by Speaker. Yes, just a few matters to be announced, but important. Very important. First of all, I would like to announce that there were no questions. No questions. In regards to members of the Honorable House, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre is out of state, but he'll be returning sometime today. So we expect him to be at the House from maybe today or tomorrow. Having said that, I just want to remind members on both sides that when certain circumstances come up, you must inform the House so you can be excused. A substantive matter that I wanted to talk about this morning is the matter of the practice of rules. Because I want to remind members that, and this is not for one side, both sides. There are rules in the game of sports. So you play cricket, football, track and field, basketball, there are rules. A member cannot, a sportsman cannot, if it's football or basketball, injure someone deliberately. So that's why, over years, even in the Aztec times, you have rules. Even if it's for fun. There are rules when we go to school. So the student know what he's supposed to do. And you have a teacher, then you have a principal to enforce the rules. Then, in war, we have rules in war. So even in war, you capture prisoners. You're supposed to treat the prisoners in a certain way. And therefore, our learned friends of the past comrades in this honorable house, over how many years ago, set rules, and they call them standing orders. We have standing order 44. So I want to remind members of this honorable house that Standing Order 44 has 8 sections, subsections rather. I'm not going to read them, but I'll precede them. So we know the rules. Because we have a substantive matter to debate, which is the supplementary estimate, where traditionally you give people a lot of flexibility. But there are rules. 44(1) outlines the provisions of the order 12 and 13. And it said the debate on the motion of the bill has to be relevant. And you have to confine your debate to that matter. Then 44, subsection 2, speaks about the matter of it being sub judice, meaning it is in the house, in the court, And therefore, we have to be careful how we speak about it. As a matter of fact, we should not bring it up. Then, 44(3) says, it shall be out of order to attempt to reconsider any specific question upon which the House have come to a conclusion on, except upon a substantive motion. 44(4), and here it again, it shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting or disrespectful language about members of the House or against the House of Assembly. And that is why, for example, I've always, even in my past, tried to be very careful what I accuse members of. You have to be very careful about that, because there is implication for you as a member. If you accuse a member, that's your right too. But remember, there are rules. And the member say what you say there is wrong, and challenge you, and take it to the court of the parliament, which is the privileges committee. It can have serious implication for you if it is proven that you are wrong, or you cannot prove what you said. So yes, people vote members to come to the Honorable House to represent them. But as I said, there are rules. You cannot just take some object and send it across the room because people elected you. So I'm almost done. Just a small matter, but very important. It speaks clearly that we have to name members according to their portfolio. So we say Senator, the Honorable, for example, Senator, the Honorable Laville. If it's a minister, we refer to the minister, and you say, I'm not reading it, because I've been in Parliament for a long time, so I understand that. Because we're trying to maintain a level of respect. Okay. We have 6. And this is where sometimes we are always in this long debate on 6. That is 44(6). I read in it. No member shall impute improper motives to any member of the House or indulge in personalities except on a substantive motion moved for the purpose. And then 7. The name of the president shall not be used to influence the debate. Remember, we had a long discussion and debate on that matter. It is clear. So, as much as possible, you want to avoid calling the president name or bringing the president in. I cannot advise on strategy, but it's very clear. And remember, in that subsection, it is not saying if it is something positive or negative. You cannot use it to strengthen your debate. And this came from the common law in England, where, for example, the Queen is the state. So you cannot try to use the Queen and say, well, the Queen did this or that. So you want to use that as an argument. The Queen has to be out of it. And therefore, the head of state needs to be out of the matter. And then the last one, the conduct of president members of the House or judges of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court shall not be raised except upon a substantive motion moved for that purpose. The question is, it is not a lecture, it's just an observation that I went through the minutes and I saw where I have drawn to the attention of members, specifically Honorable Ian Douglas, that he has to withdraw. And he withdrew without hesitation. So it is clear that I've tried my best to be balanced, but I wanted to point out one more matter. In the matter which deals with the amendment made by the Prime Minister this morning. Again, the rules are clear. The Prime Minister is the only one who could bring committees, after advice from the Leader of Opposition, to bring committees to the House. But what happened is, in the last sitting, there was disagreement on certain matters. But in the opposition, unwisdom, they decided to stay out of the House, thereby locking out themselves from nominating members to the committees. So in other words, your action, that's the opposition action, or their strategy, impacted the work of the Standing Orders Committees. Hear me? The Standing Orders Committees, the committees, the subcommittees, Public Accounts Committee, Standing Order Committee, Privileges Committee, all these committees had a quorum, so they could meet. But if, for example, as the chairman of the Standing Orders Committee, I call a meeting and proceed, then it will be seen as I'm taking advantage. In that matter, I would like to commend the Honorable Prime Minister for actually agreeing to take up the matter now. If he refused, it would mean that there would not be members on the other side, on the opposition side. And the Standing Order clearly say that you should try to have a balance. So I'm saying that, yes, all sides have a right to strategize. But your strategy cannot be punishing yourself. And then after you strategize, and it fails, or action has to be taken based on the rules, members go on the radio station in a big discussion and debate, not referring to the rules, but condemning decisions, and putting members of this honorable house in disrepute in the eyes of the public. And I'm saying that because it's somewhere I'm going, because I remember earlier, last part, see what happened again. And again, the rules. It's not a lecture, I'm guiding this honorable house. The house is prorogued. And when the house is prorogued, all matters that the house brought up dies there. So the opposition members brought in a matter which deal with when do we pay parliamentary representatives. But because the house was prorogued, the matter died, and because of their strategy of being absent from the house, committees did not meet. Members have to take their responsibility seriously. We cannot be paid by the state to represent the people we said that voted us, and when we are supposed to be in this honorable house or on committees to do the work, we are doing or taking actions that affect the work of the honorable house. So in regards to announcement, I really wanted to zoom in on that matter. That yes, You were voted or nominated. So even if you were nominated, you were voted because it's the members who were voted who nominated you, or either the leader of the opposition or the prime minister who is nominating you. So everybody has equal rights in the honorable house. But in regards to the standing order, the prime minister pointed out a matter which we need to, members of the standing orders committee, we need to meet and discuss this matter seriously. For example, members staying out. For example, members taking action that affect the work of the different committees. We need to meet and discuss those matters. Another matter is it right for members of the House to take a matter which is being distilled or debated in the House, go on the radio station, call members of the Honorable House corrupt and all bad names? Should that be allowed? Yes, it's a democracy, but should that be allowed? And that's just something I just wanted to bring to the House attention, because I think we really need to reflect on it. Both sides. Both sides. And finally, when I caution especially senators that are you sure you want to go in that direction, it is because I understand that when you go in a direction, I cannot not allow the other member on the other side to respond. And in the process, sometimes it brings the House into dispute, big arguments, and personality issues. So, for me, that's what I really wanted to focus on this morning, so that we are guided by this. Thank you, members. Oh, and finally, we took an action
You can shred this for me as well.
in the last House sitting where a member was suspended. Based on the rules, the member would get paid at the next sitting. We sent out the notice, so members received their notice about the 15th of November. Although, based on the rule, we should have prorated payment of salary from the 15th of November. We said no, let us go start it from the 1st of November.
Who said no? Who said no?
No, not we said no, but the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House, sorry. In that position, I said that, yes, it is going according to the rule, but we understand the situation. Even without the member apologizing or talking to the Speaker or discussing the matter, I took the decision that we are here together to really work for the country and not really to be fighting each other or trying to hurt each other. And when I'm talking about hurt, for example, a member in this Honorable House threatened the Sergeant of Arms. I'm not going to tolerate any of those matters. Any. We're going to go strictly based on the rules. This flexibility, instead, we treat it as something positive. We are taking advantage of it. So we're going to go strictly based on the standing order. Strictly speaking. So members be guided by all the different standing orders, and I have pointed out specifically standing order 44. So let us be guided by that, and I will be ruling. Remember, we took an oath without fear or favor, so I'll be ruling based on the standing order without fear or favor. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, just to assist you, I don't think the the Speaker has the authority to pay the full salary. So to ensure that the Director of Audit doesn't object to it, that I would recommend that it be placed in the records of the House, so the House can ratify it. I have no objection to the decision, just that we can ratify it at some point before the adjournment of this sitting.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So noted, after item 13,
Yeah, we can.
yes, we can take that matter to the House with a resolution, so the House can ratify it. Presentation of paper.
I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, you take the matter before item 13.
Before item
Because if you take it after item 13, because item 13 is adjournment. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. One, schedule of supplementary appropriation for the financial year July 2020 to June 2021. Two, 2020 debt portfolio review. Three, value-added tax schedules, amendment order 2021. Four, Dominican Social Security annual report for 2019. Five, the annual report of Investment Authority for 2020. Six, report to the Director of Audit on the audit of the public accounts for financial year ended June 30, 2018. Seven, report to the Director of Audit on the audit of the public accounts for financial year ended June 30, 2019. Eight, fiscal responsibility framework for the Commonwealth of Dominica. And nine, climate resilience, extension of duration order 2021, SRO 44 of 2021.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motion and taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled Supplementary Appropriation 2020-2021, Act 2021, standing in the name of the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance on the order paper.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage in the proceedings, I'll be taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled, Title by Registration, Amendment Act 2021, standing in the name of the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceeding, I will be taking all stages of the bill shortly entitled Stamp Amendment Act 2021, standing in the name of the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance on the order.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be taking all stages of the bill, Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2021, standing in the name of the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Affairs, Investment, Planning, Resilience, Sustainable Development, telecommunications, and broadcasting under other paper.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceeding, I will be moving a motion, Fiscal Responsibility Resolution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, standing in the name of the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Economic Affairs, Investment Planning, Resilient, Sustainable Development, Telecommunication and Broadcasting on the other paper.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I'll be moving a motion, Value-Added Tax Schedule Amendment Order 2021, standing in the name of the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance on the order paper.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled, Title by Registration Amendment Act 2021 be read a first time.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
The bill has been read the first time.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill entitled Stamp Amendment Act 2021 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Stamp Amendment Act 2021.
The bill has been read the first time.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Income Tax Amendment Act 2021 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Income Tax Amendment Act 2021. The bill has been read the first time.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act 2021 be read a first time.
Seconded.
Supplementary estimates of expenditure for the financial year ending June 30th, 2021. Be it resolved that this Honorable House approves the supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year 2020-2021 amounting to $275,150,327.13, the details of which are contained in the attached schedule. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary estimates being presented to this Honorable House today for a total of $275,150,327.13 is in respect of advances made from the contingencies fund for the period July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. the provisions contained in Section 81 of the Constitution Order 1978, as well as Section 12 of the Finance Administration Act, Chapter 6302, allows the government the flexibility of incurring expenditure not originally approved in the annual budget, where it is deemed necessary, and subsequently seeks Parliament's approval for such spending. The details of the expenditure are as follows. 7%, or $18,497,828 was met through grant funding. 90%, or $248,454,618 was funded by local means, while 3%, or $8,197,881 was financed by loan arrangements. In terms of the allocation to ministries and departments, government received a grant of $35,135 to purchase office equipment, software, and COVID-19 related supplies for the audit department. $193,292 was allocated to the House of Assembly to facilitate the replacement of a printer and a new air-conditioned system which malfunctioned during the year. The sum of $5,601,720 was appropriated to the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs for a number of critical projects, including A, the construction of 2 regional emergency centers at Jimmet and Casabruce, funded jointly by the European Union and the government of Dominica, $2,562,910. B, for the relocation of the High Court and Civil Registry, $1,121,399. C, the maintenance and technical support for the new passport management system for the period October 2020 to March 2021, $825,687. And D, for the rehabilitation of the Marine Base Pier Jetty at Woodbridge Bay, $946,766. Mr. Speaker, an additional $15,176,595 was approved for the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, in September of 2017, our country faced the most disastrous storm in our nation's history. Dominicans will never forget Hurricane Maria. This hurricane resulted in damage amounting to 226% of the 2016 gross domestic product. For small island development states like ours, we are reminded of the ongoing threat of climate change. Nevertheless, out of this devastation and destruction, we are committed to building a more modern and resilient Dominica. To aid us in achieving this goal, we have adopted several measures. One such measure is the establishment of a vulnerable risk reduction fund at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. The government appropriated $4,500,000 to this fund to better manage fiscal shocks originating from disasters. Mr. Speaker, one of the main aims of this fund is to maintain sufficient capital for the medium term to support rehabilitation and reconstruction resulting from natural disasters. The United Nations Population Fund provided a grant in the amount of $62,715 to support expenses related to the 2021 population and housing census mapping exercise, while $60,000 was authorized for the payment of value-added tax as government's contribution to the National Authorizing Officer European Development Fund. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Dominican people, the government contributed humanitarian support in the amount of $1 million to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines following the eruption of La Soufrière volcano. We are most familiar with the impact of a disaster. Therefore, as a people, we must always show empathy, care, and concern for our brothers and sisters. Mr. Speaker, successive Labour administrations have placed a high priority on safety and security. For a number of years, we have introduced an increase in the importation. We have noticed an increase in the importation of illicit goods, contrabands, and other illegal items entering our borders. To address this, the government invested $1,170,767 for the acquisition and installation of 2 non-intrusive inspection systems at our ports of entry. Mr. Speaker, by honoring the negotiations with the unions, in which a 1.25% salary increase was agreed for the financial year 2019-2020, a sum of $2,464,670 was remunerated to public officers as retroactive pay. Mr. Speaker, the Citizenship by Investment Program is ranked #1 according to the CBI Index. This year marks the 5th consecutive year that the Commonwealth of Dominica has been crowned the best offering for a second citizenship. On this subject, an additional amount of $5,918,443 was required to compensate 7 internationally recognized due diligence agencies who carry out investigations on all potential investors on our behalf. The Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and Food Security received an additional allocation in the amount of $6,548,031. Of this amount, $5,600,000 loan funds were drawn down from the World Bank through the Contingency Emergency Resource Component, CERC, of the Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project. This amount was utilized to strengthen our national health systems, to procure hospital beds, personal protective equipment, intensive care equipment, medical supplies, and to retrofit the COVID center at Portsmouth. $815,233 was approved as the Government of Dominica's grant contribution to the Battery Energy Storage System for Spinning Reserve Project in Dominica. This project was funded by the United Arab Emirates, UAE, in an effort to facilitate the development of geothermal energy in Dominica, in keeping with our pledge to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence continues to educate and prepare our citizens to live productive lives in this complex and ever-changing society. Education is tied to every aspect of national development. Education transforms lives. This Dominica Labour Party government fully understands the importance of investing in education. On November 3rd, 2018, this government made a commitment that it would pay 40% of student loans for all returning students. Mr. Speaker, government continues to honor all our commitments, and as such, $4,109,639 was paid to several financial institutions on behalf of our students. Additionally, $8,666,008 was approved to meet payment of tuition and housing for students pursuing higher education. Further, $3,393,994 was spent on demolition for the construction of the Maho Primary School in alignment with national resilience guidelines. These amounts, which sum up to $16,169,642, was approved as additional budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Education and Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development received an additional sum of $79,212,753. Of this amount, 28%, or $22,508,922, was utilized under the Land Settlement and Development Program and distributed as follows: $14,867,147 was used as compensation to property owners located in Wesley and Woodford Hill for the development of the international airport. Mr. Speaker, we promised the people of Dominica an international airport, and by the grace of God, this government will deliver it. $3,739,007 was paid for the acquisition of the properties to facilitate the Eastern Island Roadworks under the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. $1,229,959 for land acquired at Antrim, Loder, and Gillett. $873,334 for the payment of land acquired for the construction of the Newtown Health Center and Upper Riverbank Housing Development. $1,799,475 was paid for the land acquired for the Pound Development Project. Mr. Speaker, grant funds were drawn from the World Bank through the Contingency Emergency Response Component, CERC, of the Housing Recovery Project as follows: $9,300,000 was used to provide livelihood and income support to employees and small business owners affected by economic contraction caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. $4,800,000 was utilized to provide livelihoods and income support to individuals over the age of 70. These funds were routed through the Dominica Social Security as part of government relief initiative to citizens throughout the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, $3,859,859 was spent to provide support under the Home Renovation and Sanitation Program, while $6,949,744 was allocated to meet increased demand under the National Resettlement Program. Moreover, $31,235,396 was needed as extra budgetary support to the modern resilient housing development. Mr. Speaker, this government is of the view that proper living conditions set the foundation for personal growth, and therefore we will continue to provide housing assistance to empower our people and create a modern and more resilient nation. As it relates to recurrent expenditure, an amount of $471,179 was paid to the Dominica Solid Waste Corporation to meet some outstanding payments. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment received $76,889,121. Of this amount, $7,277,999 was allocated to COVID-19 health response. The sum of $2,597,881 was used to procure COVID-19 related pharmaceuticals and medical products. These funds came from the World Bank through its OECS Regional Health Project. In addition, Mr. Speaker, this government is very proud of our investments in the healthcare system. This includes the construction of the Marigot Hospital and the construction of climate-resilient health and wellness centers all over the country, costing $37,886,545 and $26,959,176 respectively. As it relates to climate-resilient health and wellness centers, 12 communities, Marigot, Penville, Maho, Wesley, Anzdime, Bellevue-Chopin, Newtown, Collyho, Vickers, Soufriere, Bagatelle, and Portsmouth were beneficiaries of these new resilient health and wellness centers. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of the Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment received an additional sum of $26,756,922. Mr. Speaker, the National Employment Program has created valuable on-the-job training and experience for many Dominicans. The program has also contributed immensely in alleviating unemployment through the provision of decent work. $26,677,991 additional budgetary allocation was routed through the program. By providing gainful employment, the NEP serves as a platform for empowering young professionals and their families to improve their quality of life. Mr. Speaker, Boston for Dominica a registered nonprofit organization located in the USA, formed in 2015 in response to Tropical Storm Erica, continues to support the development of Dominica. The organization donated $41,123 for the installation of benches around the city of Roseau in an effort to enhance the overall ambience of the city. These benches are on order through a local business person. The Global Environment Facility, GEF, made available an additional grant in the sum of $37,807 through the Supporting Sustainable Ecosystems Capital Investment Project to strengthen the effectiveness of Dominica's protected areas with the primary focus on the Mont Trapiton National Park. Mr. Speaker, the sum approved for the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Community Development amounted to $17,385,673. This included an amount of $17,078,170 for the construction of 2 modern resilient community centers in the communities of Trafalgar and Vacas, and $223,953 donated by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust for the Yampis Community Center and school rebuilding projects. Mr. Speaker, the Dominica Football Association donated $83,550 to undertake rehabilitation works at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. On behalf of the government and people of Dominica, I wish to thank the association for its continued support in its quest towards the development of football in Dominica, and always giving back to the general public through corporate sponsorship. This government will work with you to further the development of sports in Dominica. The United Nations Development Program, UNDP, remains committed to partnering with the government of Dominica. Over the years, the UNDP has provided grants towards sustainable development programs geared at eliminating poverty and decreasing inequalities. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Planning, Resilience, and Sustainable Development, Telecommunications and Broadcasting received grant funding from UNDP totaling $213,009, designed to fund capacity building initiatives, and was distributed as follows: $54,000 to develop an integrated database management system for the Physical Planning Division. $51,030 was allocated to train 20 government officers in climate finance proposal writing. $54,000 was used to enhance monitoring and evaluation capacity in the ministry and other line ministries, particularly in respect of data collection and analysis. $53,979 for the procurement of equipment, installation of digital repeater systems, and the training of technicians for amateur radio networks. These small projects are directly linked to the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan, CRRP, in developing systems and capacity to champion climate resilience development in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy received a supplementary amount of $27,631,660. Of this amount, $918,553 was approved to meet outstanding telephone expenses. $8,755,628 was approved to meet commitments to contractors for road maintenance works, to include vegetation management, asphalt patching, and road rehabilitation at several locations island-wide. This government continues to invest in our road networks as it is an important public asset, the upkeep of which has a direct impact on our lives and livelihoods. The works were not only to ensure the safety of motorists and pedestrians, but also contributed to the country's economic development and growth. The amount of $5,957,479 was appropriated for utility bill payments, $523,079 for the payment of water charges, while $5,439,399 for electricity consumption. The government continues in its own operations to move to more energy-efficient technologies, all in an effort to reduce the cost of electricity. From a national standpoint, we believe the pursuit of the geothermal development will no doubt ease the burden of the cost of electricity on consumers, with the reduction and eventual elimination of the use of fossil fuels and thereby the fuel surcharge. Finally, Mr. Speaker, additional budgetary provisions approved in respect of the Ministry of Youth, Development and Empowerment, Youth at Risk, Gender Affairs, Senior Security, and Dominicans with Disabilities amounted to $3,193,776 and distributed as follows. $3,094,299 was appropriated under the Cash Grant Initiative funded by the World Food Program. The beneficiaries include those persons on the public assistance lists, the elderlies, persons with disabilities, small craft vendors, and fisher folks. We want to express our gratitude to the World Food Program for its continued partnership with the government of Dominica. $67,400 was approved to identify and train young men and women in an effort to build capacity in the implementation of the Climate Resilience Recovery Plan, CRRP. The UNDP made available $32,076 to purchase items for women in famine. The project identified women in famine in need of tools and materials to support them in the development of their farms during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, this government recognizes, as we have done over the past 20 years, the need to remain focused in providing efficient management of the state's finances. We have continued to stay the course, even during this and past extremely challenging times. The people of this great nation have continued to make this Labour Party government their choice. They have done so repeatedly over the past 20 years. Our record shows that we continue to operate with humility and prudence and in the best interest of the people of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, we do not take their support for granted. Neither do we like to disappoint them. That is why we have at times had to undertake expenditure outside of the approved budget, bearing in mind that the people come first. We thank them for their support, as together we work to build a more resilient Dominica. Mr. Speaker, with this said, I now commend for the approval of this Honorable House the supplementary estimates in the amount of $275,150,327.13. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Someone? Yes, honorable members, someone has to second the motion before we can open the debate. Yes.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded. So the House, the matter is before the House for debate. Yes, yes, I see that.
Mr.
Yes,
Speaker,
Yes, I recognize you, Honorable Minister.
thank you.
Proceed.
As this year comes to a close, I ask your permission to honor the ancestors on whose shoulders we stand, for their sacrifice and courage for our beautiful country. It is my sincere hope that our work here in the Parliament will honestly continue to affect citizens in a positive way. All of us should be proud guardians of the unspoiled environment that is everywhere around us. Those who intend on destroying it should be held accountable, and I believe should be made very uncomfortable. The work of my ministry will continue to ensure that we have the best results. So I can safely say that this is taken care of. My main concern is our behavior at all levels. For instance, we must show love for this island by committing to enriching debates and presentations at this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we must believe in the protection of our democracy and the systems that are put in place to manage the affairs entrusted to us. Mr. Speaker, this is why a supplementary appropriation bill is vital. This is why I support it. Just to be very, very clear, for the people I represent in the Salabe constituency and others around the country. The supplementary appropriation bill includes an appropriation as mentioned in Section 78 of the Constitution and Section 5 of the Finance and Audit Act of 1965. Section 78 of the Constitution, authorization of expenditure from consolidated fund by appropriation by law. Basically, this section says that the minister responsible for finance shall prepare and lay before the House each financial year estimates of revenue and expenditure. Now, Mr. Speaker, when the estimates of expenditure have been approved by the House, a bill known as the appropriation bill is introduced to the House, providing for the issue from the consolidated fund the sum necessary to meet that expenditure. The third part is what we are talking about today, Mr. Speaker. If in respect of any financial year it is found, A, that the amount appropriated by the appropriation law for any purpose is insufficient, or that a need has arisen for expenditure for a purpose to which the amount has been appropriated by law, or B, that any monies have been expended for any purpose in excess of the amount appropriated to that purpose by the appropriation law, or for a purpose to which no amount has been appropriated by law, then, Mr. Speaker, a supplementary estimate showing the sums required or spent shall be laid before the House. And when the supplementary estimate has been approved by the House, a supplementary appropriation bill shall be introduced in the House, providing for such monies. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore a bill that that sets aside money for specific spending. Mr. Speaker, in our democracy, approval of the legislature is necessary for the government to spend that money. This is one of the reasons why we're here. We have serious business to do. In the Saliva constituency, for instance, Mr. Speaker, we benefit at all levels. For example, within the blue and green economy, agriculture, national food security, we benefit from the emergency agriculture livelihoods and climate resilience project. Mr. Speaker, in education and human resource planning, vocational training and national excellence, we benefit from students who are studying overseas. They benefit from the monies allocated in that section. Mr. Speaker, within housing and urban development, we are also benefiting from the DVRP, the East Coast Road, both in land acquisition and also crop compensation. And also, Mr. Speaker, from the 70 years and older. Mr. Speaker, in health, wellness, and new initiatives, we are all benefiting in the Salabe constituency from the management of the COVID-19 pandemic. Within the structures of the public works and digital economy, Mr. Speaker, we are also benefiting from the monies allocated for vegetation management. Youth development and empowerment, youth at risk, gender affairs, senior securities, and Dominicans with disabilities, Mr. Speaker. We are all within the Carnago territory and at Kingston and Trizzel, the Salbe constituency by extension, are benefiting from the cash transfer grant. More specifically also, Mr. Speaker, within the ministry I lead, environment, rural modernization, and Carnago upliftment, we are benefiting from the NEP. I'll take a little time here to put a little historical context for the NEP. Mr. Speaker, if you permit me. The program was officially launched on December 2nd, 2013, and it was followed by a 3-day trade and employment exposition, which ran from December 2nd to the 4th of this in 2013. And the expo aimed to inform the public on services provided by the government to support business development, 1, 2, job creation, exports, and also gave the business sector an opportunity to market and sell their goods and services. Mr. Speaker, additionally, upon registration, visitors to the expo were also afforded the privilege of free access to career and small business development workshops and seminars that were held during the expo. Mr. Speaker, my people fought to protect our island from the onslaught of colonization, and now we are part of an independent democratic country. I'm happy to be part and parcel of the government today that leads that country. This government has made our commitment absolutely clear and has a legacy of progressive development. Mr. Speaker, please be reminded of our Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt's expression to become the world's first climate resilient country. Our government has a clear plan that is in place with major programs underway. But we cannot do this with the negativity created within the halls of Parliament by those who merely seek power. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the supplementary appropriation for the House. Mr. Speaker, the government has spent $275 million more than what it had approved for. This appropriation has been financed with loans, grants, along with $248 million of local monies. We do not know where these monies come from because the paper does not tell us. Under the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and New Health Investment, a total of $6.9 million to meet COVID-related payments. This is in addition to the amount that was budgeted for. Mr. Speaker, Dominicans are still begging for meaningful assistance to compensate for losses of employment, small businesses, etc., as a result of COVID-19. 2021 was Dominica's first full financial year under COVID, and the government overspent its budget by $275 million. But only a very small percentage of that amount, less than 5%, was spent on COVID-19 emergency-related matters. Mr. Speaker, this is troubling because we know that millions of dollars have been received for COVID. Ministry of Environment, Rural Modernization, and Kalinago Upliftment. Mr. Speaker, in the 2021 budget, $9 million was allocated to the NEP, National Employment Program. Today, this supplementary appropriation is telling us that the government has spent an additional $26 million as stipends to NEP workers, a total of $36 million. This additional amount is exorbitant and would like justifications for spending this large additional sum. Mr. Speaker, under the Ministry of Public Works and Digital Economy, I notice what I would refer to as attempts to hide items of expenditure. The heading electrical charge, $5.4 million as payment for a number of different items.
Mr. Speaker,
I rise on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, did I hear the Senator made a statement attempting to hide? So, Mr. Speaker, to my mind, that is offending the standing orders. That is imputing improper motives, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator, you'd have to withdraw it.
I withdraw, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
The heading, I have to continue. Yeah, but I was saying we do not know the specific amount that was spent on each item. Mercury Building at Mount Daniel was in the picture already. Why wasn't it budgeted for? And why specific mention of street lights in Penville and Vacaz? Is it in Penville and Vacaz communities alone that we have street lights? And there are street lights in other communities? Why not mention these communities as well and say how much was spent there? I am asking, why weren't reservations made or allocations made for these payments in the budget? Or did we have a cost or an exponential rise in the cost of electricity? We need to specify. I wish this amounts are specified because the taxpayers of Dominica would like to know. 2021 population and housing census, a total of $62 million, $62.7 million. To meet expenses related to the 2021 population and housing census as the mapping exercise. The mapping was done. The mapping exercise was done. When is the census going to take place? The last census was done in Dominica in 2011. Was the report released, or has it been released? 20 years without proper data on the country can have serious implications. Population census is important because it helps the country in its planning efforts. It helps to increase the rate of economic development within the country. This cannot happen if authorities do not know the structure and distribution of the country's population. Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, land settlement, $3.7 million to meet commitments for acquisition of properties for Eastern Island roadworks. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that a number of people in Casa Bruce have not been paid for their land. I have been told that it is over a year that representatives of the government are giving reasons why these people have not received compensation. First, it was changes requiring cabinet's approval, which had to be made to the assessments. Next, they were told that they would be paid after the 2021-2022 national budget. To date, these people have not received compensation. As recently as last week, a landowner was in contact with the relevant authorities, and this government representative could not say when payment would be disbursed. Mr. Speaker, these landowners are wondering what is going on because allocations for compensations were made in the budget and not in the supplementary appropriation. And not just that, it has been said in Parliament that all landowners whose land was acquired have been paid. Mr. Speaker, this is not right because non-payment to landowners is violation of government's agreement with the financing agency, whereby all landowners would be paid prior to commencement of work. This is compulsory acquisition of people's property without compensation within reasonable time. Another blatant violation of the constitutional provision protecting people's right to their property. Ministry of Education. I was looking, Mr. Speaker, I was looking for something, some allocation to the Dominica State College, but I did not see it. But then in the budget, $5 million was allocated for the State College, I guess to rehabilitate. But nothing has been done. Since May, Mr. Speaker, a promise was made to start work on the college. What has happened? The toilets, the washrooms still have no doors, so the students have no privacy. Classrooms still need repair. But nothing is happening. The engineering department at the college is in turmoil. Woodwork department is chaos. The structural construction area is more chaos. Nothing has been done. No training has taken place. Training for young people has taken place. The young people need training in the required skills. If we have a college that is efficient and functional, where the curriculum is broadened, and where people are no longer just going to study for theory, but instead a hands-on approach to knowledge, these young people would be qualified to get their share of the jobs that so many foreigners now have in Dominica. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Speaker. I am not saying foreigners should not be working in Dominica. What I am saying is Dominicans should be given priority in their country.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to,
Mr. Speaker?
at the end of the contribution of the, I would like to move on a point of correction at the end of our presentation. Because
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, as I come to the end of my presentation, I wish to state, Mr. Speaker, that in my opinion, there is no credible reason for the overspending of this large amount by this government. Mr. Speaker, thus ends my presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you can stand and if you have any point of clarification or correction.
yeah, Mr. Speaker, just to clarify, these supplementary estimates are brought here because of expenditures incurred without the approval of Parliament. And if we're here in the supplementary estimate, we're saying that these monies in here have been used to pay persons for the lands that have been acquired. So for the member to stand here and to give the impression that people have not been paid and asking when are they going to be paid, when the supplementary estimate is saying that monies were expended paying these people, it comes to me as being malicious and dishonest and misleading the Parliament and misleading the people of Dominica. Because these expenditures that we're debating is for monies that have been paid to the landowners. I just wanted to clarify that. And she will not decide, Madam Speaker, when I attack her or not. I'll do that in my own deliberate time.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, on this matter, we were here in this Parliament some time ago, in 2018, first 6 months of the year 2018. We subsequently looked at supplementary appropriations for that period, and included in the amounts for that 6-month period was a $700,000 payment to Gildan Richards. I have asked repeatedly in this Parliament for the record to be corrected.
Honorable Linton, I thought you were standing in regards to respond to what the Honorable Minister said.
I'm responding to what you say.
But
because, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on. Mr. Linton, we were talking, the Honorable Minister was speaking in regards to the supplementary estimate in regards to payment for lands acquired. No, lands acquired. So be guided. When you have your opportunity in the supplementary estimate, you have your little leeway to debate. You understand? But we're talking about lands. Now the Honorable Minister, yes, I agree that it was about lands, but the Senator specifically said Cassibus. You see? So that's why I left it, but I'm happy that you stood on your feet to clarify certain matters. But she specifically said, she didn't say monies were not paid in general, but she said Cassibus. So I just wanted to just point that out. So at least we have that as a point for clarification if any minister want to clarify. The rules allow for ministers to stand on his feet and clarify any matter that they think is incorrect or needs clarification. So let's proceed the debate.
Mr. Speaker, I move this honorable House be stood on suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon.
Seconded, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon. Those in favor? Those against? House stands suspended until 3 p.m. this afternoon.